This blockbuster New York Times story that was published on A1 back in June would have been hard to believe if it did not come with 2,200 pages of proof that were published on the New York Times website to accompany the story. 2,000 pages of FBI records showing that in the last 20 years, the FBI's internal investigations of itself have found that no FBI agent has ever made a mistake when they shot someone. In every single episode of an FBI agent shooting someone, either wounding them or killing them, the FBI internal review process over the last couple of decades has found that every single one of them was justified. 150 shootings reviewed, all 150 shootings found to be justified. The New York Times had to sue to get access to those internal FBI records. The record showed that in most of these cases where an FBI agent shot and killed somebody, the only inquiry into what happened, into what led to that person being shot and killed by an FBI agent, the only entity to investigate what happened was the FBI itself. And surprise, the FBI has found for the last 2 decades that every single time one of its agents shot and killed somebody, it was a justified shooting. They never make a mistake. It's amazing, right? It's incredible. Incredible in the sense of not being credible. Given that perfect record of exonerating themselves every single time they ever shoot someone, if the FBI asked you to meet with them and you had a choice, would you go? The father of a young man recently killed by the FBI has come to the United States from Russia this week to investigate his son's death. His son is Ibrahim Tadashev. He was shot and killed inside his home in Orlando in May while he was being questioned by FBI agents and other law enforcement officials about, well, we don't know exactly. He was apparently at least an acquaintance, if not a friend, of one of the Boston bombing suspects, so presumably that was part of the questioning. But really, we do not know because Ibrahim Tadashev is dead, and the FBI will not speak on the record about how or why they killed him. At a press conference today, lawyers for Mr. Tadashev's father revealed that the FBI asked to meet with him also. The FBI asked to meet with the father, and the father said no.
The FBI did attempt to question Mr. Tadashev, but he did not speak to them because he didn't have any attorneys present at the time.
And I think if anything, what happened, unfortunately, with his son taught a very important reminder for all of us that you should never meet with law enforcement without an attorney present.
The father refused to meet with the FBI without an attorney present. And can you really blame him? Mr. Tadashev was silent for most of the press conference today. He said he didn't want to answer questions because it was hard for him to talk about his dead son. He did, however, make a short statement through a translator.
Очень хорошим мальчиком.
He was a very good boy.
Он хотел жить.
And he wanted to live.
Я приехал в Америку, полагаясь на американское правосудие.
I came to America to rely on American legal system.
Что добьюсь справедливости.
That I will be able to pursue and achieve the justice for my son.
There were a lot of reporters at this press conference in Florida today asking questions, which I have to say is nice to see, given how terrible some of the press has been about just writing down and not challenging at all the contradictory claims by anonymous law enforcement sources about this case, including the totally contradictory reports that the dead man was brandishing a weapon when he was killed. It was definitely a knife or a blade of some kind. No, it was a ceremonial sword. No, it wasn't a ceremonial sword. It was a broomstick. No, it wasn't a broomstick. It was a pole. No, actually, maybe it was nothing. It was nothing. He was unarmed. But who knows? They've all been reported as fact, citing anonymous, self-congratulatory law enforcement sources, usually without any reference at all to the fact that other anonymous leaks in this case made totally different claims. Mr. Tadashev's brand new lawyers today were asked about those conflicting reports.
There's been some reports that he was armed, but you're saying that absolutely is not the case, was not the case, correct?
Our sources have said that he was unarmed during the incident.
Based on everything that we've learned, we have absolutely no reason to think there was any kind of a deadly weapon in the possession of our client's son.
We've heard knives, sword.
That's
was
right.
There anything like that? I mean, I guess you don't know.
I've heard that from you, from the media, but I have no reason, in fact, to believe that that's true.
One of the most interesting things about what happened today was about the most inflammatory of all the anonymous law enforcement leaks about this case. In the wake of this mysterious and unexplained death at the hands of the FBI, it was not long before anonymous law enforcement officials started telling the press that the man they killed, the dead man, was on the verge of confessing to a gruesome triple murder that had stunned the Boston suburb of Waltham back in 2011. They said that Mr. Tadashev was about to confess, or maybe even he had already started to confess, to that unsolved triple murder just moments before the FBI had to shoot and kill him. At the press conference today, lawyers for Mr. Tadashev's father said what Ibrahim Tadashev's friends and relatives have been saying for some time now, which is that he talked to his friends and relatives extensively about his conversations with the FBI, but he never once mentioned that the FBI was talking to him at all about those Waltham murders.
There was mention that he might have been a suspect in a triple murder.
Yeah, we've heard that rumor as well.
Well, but that's another reason.
That had never been mentioned to him or his friends who were with him during the questioning before that. So the first that came out was after the shooting, after he was killed.
You should know, I want to make this point clear as well. The FBI reached out to Mr. Tadashev's son and spoke to him and asked to speak to him again. Mr. Tadashev's son already had a plane ticket to leave the United States and go back to Russia to visit with his family. He was assured by the FBI that this would be the last time that they wanted to speak to him, and he delayed his trip home to meet with the FBI because of, apparently, an effort to want to be cooperative. And he didn't survive that second questioning.
Which leads to a really obvious and interesting question, right? If you knew you were the suspect of a murder investigation and you had a ticket to leave the United States, why wouldn't you use that ticket? Why would you stay in the country? He had a ticket to leave the U.S. and go home to Russia. If the FBI was pressuring him as a suspect in a triple murder, why wouldn't he use that ticket and leave the country? Why would he stay here to hang out with the FBI more? Joining us now is Barry Cohen. He's lead counsel for the Tadashev family. Mr. Cohen, thank you for joining us tonight. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
It has been leaked to the media by anonymous law enforcement sources that Ibrahim Tadashev was perhaps on the verge of confessing to a triple murder that happened back in Boston 2011. Can you share any information publicly about his potential involvement in that murder, any potential confession?
I have not learned that there's any merit to that kind of an accusation. I think it's pretty typical to try to paint this young man with a black brush to make him appear something that he's not. There's no evidence that I am even close to being aware of that would support that. I think and even if it were true, which I have no reason to believe it is, that doesn't give the FBI the right to assassinate this young man. It gives them the right to investigate it and do what they need to do, have a right to do. But as far as we're concerned, that's untenable, unsupportable, and the kind of propaganda that you would expect to come out of the FBI, knowing there's going to be an investigation into what happened. So this is typical. This is nothing new and nothing surprising.
We did not know until recently that there was going to be any sort of investigation, any official investigation into this death other than the FBI's own troubling internal review process. But now it's a state attorney in Orange County, Florida, who says that he also will review independently what happened here. Is that enough of an external independent investigation? What are your expectations of that?
Well, actually, my expectations are different than they usually are in these situations. I have no confidence in the integrity of the law enforcement community investigating their own because they protect their own, and I understand that. They work together, they fight crime together, and there's a certain amount of loyalty, and they willfully close their eyes to the truth when these investigations take place. But this particular investigator, this particular state attorney, campaigned on his dislike for the way police investigations were conducted when they investigated their own. And I have reason to believe that this investigator, this particular state attorney, Jeff Ashton, is not the usual kind of police investigator where they're concerned about being reelected or concerned about getting the Police Benevolent League endorsement at election time or trying to protect their own. I have a feeling, based on what I know, what I've heard, what I have reason to believe, that Mr. Ashton is taking this case seriously, and he's not going to sweep facts under the rug. He's not going to consciously avoid the truth, and he's going to make these people who may have a proclivity to spin and tell the truth. When a clerk admonishes the oath in a courtroom, they say, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. There's a difference between the truth and the whole truth. And that's why they give that sort of swearing in oath. But I believe that this state attorney brings something new to the table. And I think that he's going to be serious about this investigation. And I think he's going to more likely than not, indict this FBI agent. Then we're going to have a lot of interesting dynamics because this FBI agent is going to use Florida's stand your ground rule, a law as a defense in his case. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic how we've heard so much about stand your ground in Florida. And if this FBI agent is indicted, I can almost assure you that his lawyer will advance the stand your ground defense, which may be a reason that he may not be indicted because of the availability of that defense in Florida. But my interest is going to be in protecting this family to make sure that justice is done. We're going to look very hard at the facts, and we're going to hold the FBI agent who should be held accountable in this case. We're going to hold him accountable. We're going to hold the United States of America accountable for conduct as a result of an FBI agent's conduct. And we're going to see that justice is done.
Barry Cohen, lead counsel for the Tadashev family. Mr. Cohen, it's been very hard to get anybody associated with this case and any side of it to talk to us. I appreciate your being here tonight. I hope you'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
All right. Now I'm going to try to buy a disgraced governor's watch. Please hold on.